If you are dissatisfied with your present expression of life, then you must be born again. John 3:7. Rebirth is the dropping of that level with which you are dissatisfied and rising to that level of consciousness which you desire to express and possess. How amazing is this? Welcome back to Unleashing Happiness. I'm your host, Cecilia Hendricks, and today we're diving into Chapter 3 of Neville Goddard's Your Faith is Your Fortune, and this is one of my favorite paragraphs out of that. If you are dissatisfied with your present expression of life, then you must be born again. Rebirth is the dropping of that level with which you are dissatisfied and rising to that level of consciousness which you desire to express and possess. And this episode is going to dive right into talking about what this means and how you can make it work in your life so that you can express the type of life and the type of identity that you really want to have. I am crazy excited. If you cannot tell by this intro, I absolutely love this book. I love Neville Goddard's teachings, and I love being able to talk about it and hopefully help you make a little bit more sense out of it, because sometimes it can be a bit confusing. So let's go ahead and jump right in. When I went back through reading Your Faith is Your Fortune so that I could get ready for these podcast episodes, I was reminded how much I love this book. I just think there's such great information and wonderful nuggets to remind you of who we truly are and truly the power that we possess over our own lives, the identity that we hold, our perceptions, the way that we're viewing the world, the way that we're presenting ourselves. And it's just been so wonderful to go back and read over this and have some of this information come back out to me. But I will say this book was not a favorite when I first started. When I first started listening to Neville Goddard, I actually found this book to be one of the most difficult for me to understand. I think this actually speaks to our perceptions, and what I'm trying to teach here is how your perception can change, because the more that I've leaned into my own spirituality, feeling much closer to God than I have ever felt before in my life, and understanding how to get these principles to work in my life, and now so much of the book makes absolutely perfect sense. And the parts that stick out to me, I'm like, yes, I see this. I can understand how to utilize this in my own life. And I hope I can also convey it in a way that helps other people understand it in a better way, because I know it can be a little confusing. I know it can be a lot at first. And so my goal here is to just help you also broaden your own awareness. And what you may find is that as you're starting to open up your mind and you're starting to understand a little bit more, and you're leaning into your own consciousness and your own spirituality and your own relationship with yourself and with God, the more it's going to make sense to you too. And the reason for that is because our perceptions change, right? Our understandings change. And that's the most beautiful part about all of this, is that we are able to change. There's only one thing about us that doesn't ever change, and that's that we are. Right? We age, our understanding broadens, we learn new things, we have different interests, even our taste buds change, right? Like I used to hate cilantro. I thought it tasted like soap. Now I'm absolutely obsessed with the stuff. Like I'll just take a cilantro leaf and just eat it on its own. And I'm floored by this because I don't think I can actually express how much I hated cilantro before and how much I love it now. Like the differences are like two different people, because I am two different people. That was another version of myself. I have died to myself. And trust me, I've died to myself in many more ways than just loving or hating cilantro. But that's a great example, in my opinion, is that we have these things that change about us, and they're always changing. And it's because we're able to shift our identity. But the one thing that never changes, as long as I'm here, is that I am conscious of being. I am. So if you've listened to the first episode, which I will link below if you would like to go back, if you haven't listened to it, I'll have it below. But if you listen to the first episode, that's a lot of what we talked about. What is the I am? I'll do kind of a quick recap. Your I am is just you as a being. This is you experiencing the world. If you were reborn completely as a baby, the one thing that you would be aware of is that you were, right? You're here. I am. It has not been conditioned. So you have not placed conditions on yourself of what you believe true of yourself, the things that you hold as your identity. And your identity can also be referred to as your state. So when you look at this kind of thing and you say, okay, I am, how am I going to condition that? What comes after that? And these conditions come from many different experiences. You learn them from your tribe, right? So you're learning those from your family unit, your friends. You're learning them from the way that society has treated you, the perceptions that you took in. We all have a filter. Like both of us, me and you, could go to a talk, sit down and listen to the exact same talk. One, our vision is different. We will never be in the exact same spot looking at the exact same thing. So that is actually different. Our perception right there and vision is different. Then the things that stick with me and stay with me could be different. I may take a joke from a comedian as offensive that you think is just freaking hilarious and you didn't take it offensive. I could take something that somebody said is super inspiring and you could take it as cheesy. These are our perceptions, and they're based off of us as a person, what we accepted as true of ourselves, what we've learned from our family, our tribe, right? Our friends, the experiences that we've had, either through school or our first jobs, or the way that a boss has treated us, or the way that a friend has treated us, our first romantic experiences, honestly, any romantic experiences. You always are creating this perception of the world. And your brain is designed to look for the things that you have decided to focus on. So when we look at even like a negative or positive bias, right? Like either you're somebody who tends to see a lot of the negative that's happening in the world. You're like, I'm completely unlucky. Nothing good ever happens to me. People treat me like crap. Or you're somebody who's like, I don't know, stuff just kind of always seems to work out for me and people really enjoy being around me and things just tend to go my way. You're going to have two different perceptions. You're going to see what you have decided to be true. Your brain is actually designed to look for it. And I saw a really fun little exercise that if you take a minute right now and you look around your current environment, so either whether you're in a room or you're driving, wherever you're listening to this, take a look around and notice all the things that are red. So just take a minute, look around. If you're driving, please be safe, but take a minute, look around everything that's red. Now, at the end of this, if I say, how many green things are there? You're like, well, I don't know. I was looking for the red things. That's how this works. Your brain is designed to say, yes, let me show you that you are right. Let me show you that you are unlucky. Let me show you that you are lucky. Let me show you that you are unworthy. Let me show you that you are worthy. Let me show you that nothing ever goes right for you, or let me show you that everything always works out for you. And when you have that faith that everything always works out for you, it just tends to work out. And so when we look at chapter 3 of Your Faith is Your Fortune, it is called The Principle of Truth. That's the name of the chapter. And he says, the truth that sets man free is the knowledge that his consciousness is the resurrection and the life, that his consciousness both resurrects and makes alive all that he is conscious of being. Okay, like, hold on, let's talk about this for a minute. What does that mean? Exactly what we were just talking about. Your consciousness is part of your perception. It's part of your identity. You are constantly going to confirm to yourself that you are correct. And that's going to tie back to what you've conditioned your I am. So when you say, I am this or I am that, you are conditioning who you are. You are conditioning the being that is you, this wonderful, amazing, remarkable being that is you. Whether you see yourself as creative or you see yourself as artistic or you see yourself as funny, whatever it is, you are conditioning that I am. And you're conditioning that through your consciousness. And then you're going to continue to confirm that to yourself. And science has actually shown this. Now, maybe Neville Goddard is definitely kind of woo-woo, right? Neville says that we are all God. And I believe this as well. I believe that each one of us is fragments of God, and we don't understand how that works, right? We got to put it in a way that our little human brains can actually comprehend, especially when we're awakening. And I've only begun my journey to awaken and to understand, but I truly believe that each of us is God, which means at the core, our I am, the unconditioned being of us, is perfect. There is not a thing wrong. Everything is absolutely perfect and beautiful because that's all that God could be. And it doesn't matter whether you look at this as like the source or the universe or whichever name that you put on it. this is who we are. We are part of whatever is creating this amazing world. We are part of how this all works, and it's our consciousness and how we condition our I am that allows us to have the experiences in life that we have. And the more that I looked into this, and the more that I started to test it, and the more that I started to read and lean into it, the more that I actually saw this is the only thing that makes logical sense. Like there's nothing else to me that makes logical sense except that our consciousness is what we are. That's our I am conditioned. And I've seen this played out with myself and with others. If you look around and you make a decision to say, okay, I want to think about all the things I've conditioned on myself, what I believe true of myself, nothing that you write down is going to be something made up. You're either going to truly believe it or you're going to think you're making it up. You're going to truly believe it or you think you're going to be scripting it. You're going to truly believe it or you think like, oh, maybe in the future I'll be that. But you don't think that right now. So what else makes sense? It's that your consciousness is your being. Your condition of your I am is your being. And to quote, your faith is your fortune, to rise in consciousness to the level of the thing desired and to remain there until such level becomes your nature is the way of all seeming miracles. If I be lifted up in consciousness to the naturalness of the thing desired, I shall draw the manifestation of that desire to me. But we look at those as miracles, especially the man who does not lean into the understanding of this. And I will say, I look at all of it as a miracle. I believe it is our consciousness. I believe I do get to make a choice in this. And I think that's a miracle. I think it's a miracle I wake up every morning. I think it's a miracle that the birds sing and that the flowers bloom and that the sun comes up and there's a beautiful breeze. And all of it to me is a miracle. I think it's a miracle that I've given birth to a child. When I look at what has to happen in order for me to give birth to a child, I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense. Like, how does this even make sense that I can do that? Because it's a miracle. There's miracles around us every single day. And part of that miracle is understanding that I get to make a choice on how I'm going to condition myself. Nobody else gets to make it for me. It's the perception that I want to take in. And I choose those perceptions. It may not seem like it all the time, but you can actually change your perception. You can change the things that you take offense to. When you look at your identity, you usually have at the core of you kind of yourself, right? This is the things that you believe true of yourself, the type of person that you are. And there's external things that are very close to that core of yourself. This is actually something that I learned in Sean Webb's book, Mind Hacking Happiness. He has what he calls a me map. And in the middle is the you, me, and it's a circle, right? That's you. And then there's a circle outside of that of the things that you hold really close to you. So that could be your family, your children, your dog, your cat, your ferret, your political stances, your body, the way that you view your own body. It could be things like your well-being or what people say about you. It could be that you have hair or you don't have hair. And then you have circles that go out from that. And the further away from you are, the less likely you are to get offended by something. So if somebody makes a comment to me about, like, let's say my children, I'm going to get really offended and I'm going to be upset. And my first knee-jerk reaction is going to be anger. If you make a comment about the way that I look, I don't really care. I just don't. I guess there's some people in the world whose opinion I would matter about the way that I look and the way that my hair is done and how I do my makeup and what my nails look like. But for the most part, if somebody makes a rude comment to me about it, I kind of brush it off and move on. It doesn't bother me, but it used to. But because my perception and my identity has changed, the things that I keep really close to that core of me has changed, it just doesn't matter as much. So when I go back to Neville Goddard's book, Your Faith is Your Fortune, he says, my consciousness is the Father who draws the manifestation of life to me. The nature of the manifestation is determined by the state of consciousness in which I dwell. I am always drawing into my world that which I am conscious of being. So let's consider that for a minute. What does this mean to you? I'd like you to take a moment. I'm going to read it one more time. And I want you to think about what this means to you and how you can see it already playing out in your life now, no matter what your beliefs are. My consciousness is the Father who draws the manifestation of life to me. The nature of the manifestation is determined by the state of consciousness in which I dwell. I am always drawing into my world that which I am conscious of being. Now, if you go back and you think about your perceptions, the things that you keep very close to you, that you feel are true, the things that you'll get offended by or won't get offended by, and what you actually believe of yourself. Not the things you're trying to get in the future, not the things that you're trying to script to come in, not the things that you think will be one day, but what you think of you right now. And those could be good, bad, or indifferent, right? There's things about me that I think are, I would kind of like to change that. I'm a procrastinator. I believe this is true of myself. It's not something that I would enjoy to continue, but it's also not something I've put that much work into changing. If I'm going to be honest, like this is just me looking at the conditions I have on my life right now. And I've conditioned that I'm a procrastinator. And I play that out all the time. Honestly, to my own detriment most of the time. But yeah, I play that out all of the time. I also believe that I'm a phenomenal mother. And I see that play out in my life all the time. And that's positive. I want to hold on to that. I don't want to lose that one. Like I like being a mom. It's something that I just love. I love my children. I love the relationship that I have with them. I love my nieces and nephews. I love the relationship I have with them. Those children mean the world to me. And I want to keep that close to my center me on my me map. And so now when I go back, Neville starts to talk to us about if we're dissatisfied, if we don't like the way that our life is going now. And he says, if you're dissatisfied with your present expression of life, then you must be born again. And he's quoting John 3:7, which John 3:7, let me see here real quick, I have it pulled up, is you should not be surprised at my saying, you must be born again. So this is what Neville's saying, you have to be born again. If you are dissatisfied with your present expression of life, then you must be born again. Rebirth is the dropping of that level which you are dissatisfied and rising to that level of consciousness which you desire to express and possess. You cannot serve two masters. This is quoted in Matthew 6:24 and Luke 16:13, or opposing states of consciousness at the same time. Taking your attention from one state and placing it upon another, you die to the one from which you have taken it, and you live and express the one which you are now united. Man cannot see how it would be possible to express that which he desires to be by so simple a law as acquiring the consciousness of the thing desired. The reason for this lack of faith on the part of man is that he looks at the desired state through the consciousness of his present limitations. Therefore, he naturally sees it as an impossible accomplishment. So let's talk about this here a bit. Neville is actually saying that you have to die to the person that you are. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot continue to be in poverty and also be wealthy. You cannot continue to be unworthy, but also have a really great, healthy, loving relationship. It just doesn't work that way. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people who are like, I do not have great self-esteem and I still have a phenomenal partner. That's wonderful. You still, though, do not have the healthiest dynamic of a relationship if you don't love yourself and you don't see yourself as worthy. And that person's love, this external event, may help you somewhat get there, but you're really only going to be able to provide that to yourself. Once you feel like their love has given you enough that you can feel worthy, then you'll actually change your state of consciousness. And I fully believe this. I definitely think there are people who can have beautiful relationships who do not feel worthy of that relationship, but it's not going to be the best relationship for you or your partner until you also feel that you are completely worthy of this love and you like giving it to them and you like receiving it from them. Right? There's a balance there. So it really depends on what it is that you're looking for in life. Because sometimes we are a little attached to our misery. We are a little attached to being a bit of a victim. And that is not to put anybody down who has gone through a traumatic event. I definitely think there are still things to work through as a human being, especially if you've had a traumatic event in life. Those things are going to sit with you, and that's okay. It's not to shame anybody. And it's not to say that you are choosing to hold on to this or that you wanted this thing to come into your life. That's not the point. And if you kind of struggle a little bit with that, I would actually listen to my episode before. I'll put a link down below. I think I said that before. But I talk a little bit more about that here, and I might dig into this a little bit more on my YouTube channel. I try to do some videos after the podcast episode to dive a little bit deeper in, and I might do it for that because I think that's such an important piece of this. You can have things happen to your life and not have to accept responsibility of bringing them into your life, even with all of these teachings. So Neville actually also goes on because it seems a little difficult to be like, wow, I have to die to this old self. Like, how do I let go of something I'm conscious of being and instead focus on a new thing of conscious of being? And the way that Neville recommends this is he says, do not be dismayed. This letting go of your present identity is not as difficult as it might appear to be. The invitation of the scriptures to be absent from the body and be present with the Lord is not given to a select few. It is a sweeping call to all mankind. The body from which you are invited to escape is your present conception of yourself with all its limitations, while the Lord with whom you are to be present is your awareness of being. So you want to go back to just the I am. No conditions, no limitations, no struggles, just being. To accomplish this seemingly impossible feat, you take your attention away from your problem and place it on just being. You say silently but feeling, I am. Do not condition this awareness, but continue declaring quietly, I am, I am. Simply feel that you are faceless and formless and continue doing so until you feel yourself floating. Floating is a psychological state which completely denies the physical. Through practice and relaxation and willfully refusing to react to sensory impressions, it is possible to develop a state of consciousness of pure receptivity. It is a surprisingly easy accomplishment. In this state of complete detachment, definite singleness of purposeful thought can be engraved upon your unmodified consciousness. This state of consciousness is necessary for true meditation. This wonderful experience of rising and floating is a signal that you are absent from the body or problem and you are now present with the Lord. In this expanded state, you are not conscious of being anything but I am. I am. You are only conscious of being. When this expansion of consciousness is attained, within this formless deep of yourself, give form to the new conception by claiming and feeling yourself to be that which you, before you entered into the state, desired to be. You will find that within this formless deep of yourself, all things appear to be divinely possible. Anything that you sincerely feel yourself to be while in this expanded state becomes, in time, your natural expression. Now, I'm going to tell you from my own experience that I have only been able to obtain this a few times. And the reason for that is because I have not put in the practice that I need to, and I firmly believe that. When I put in the focus and the intention into just doing this, not attempting to get anything, just focusing on the I am being state, I do get to a point where I feel like I am floating in nothingness. So I am not actually able to see. I don't really have a mind's eye. It's coming a little bit together as I practice, but not much. So I usually just see black with little specks of things. When I did this the first time, I went through a very colorful tunnel and then hit a point where I felt like I was completely floating. Not gonna lie, I got scared and I jumped myself out of it. So it kind of freaked me out the first time. So if it scares you, don't be surprised by that. I doubt that you're the only one who's been scared by it. I know that I was. And then the other times that I've gone into it, I don't know actually how long I was meditating at that point, but it was the most blissful feeling. And anything that I truly conditioned on myself at that point has absolutely presented itself in my world. So the key here is to make sure that you are focusing on putting this into practice. There's a lot of different techniques that you can use. If this is one that you would like to use, I feel like it's phenomenal. I also feel like it just gives you a better connection to your spirituality. So if you want to use this, definitely start putting it into practice. Do it when you can be alone. I don't recommend listening to any kind of music or beats when you do it. Just lying down or sitting and just focusing on just your being, just your I am. And you will get to a point where suddenly you are in this remarkable floating, relaxed. I guess this is probably what people call the void, but it was phenomenal. It's one of the most amazing feelings I've ever had. I felt completely weightless. So Definitely share your experiences with me if you would like. I would love to hear about them. If this is something that you have done or are going to try to do, definitely let me know. We'll continue. I'm going to do more of this chapter from Your Faith is Your Fortune. I'll probably be reading it in chunks and talking about it because it's a little bit longer of a chapter. But I'm looking forward to getting more into it. But I wanted to give you these pieces. I definitely hope that you found this helpful. I hope that you will absolutely try to find your own I am state and start to change the conditions that you've placed on yourself. And like always, I wish you absolutely nothing but the best this week. If there's anything that you want to talk to me about, definitely feel free to shoot me an email. It's unleashinghappiness@ceciliahendricks.com. I also do have one spot left for my trial coaching. So I have been asked a few times about doing coaching. I want to make it very clear, I am not a manifestation coach. That's not what I'm here for. It's not what I'm going to be doing. But I am someone who would like to help you identify the ways to get your mind, body, and spirit all aligned so that you can live a life that you truly love. And my coaching program has been designed around that. So I am offering a trial period because I'm just starting this out. And I would like to have a couple people that can work with me and give me some feedback. I'm very open to the feedback, but I want folks to understand I am not a manifestation coach. That is not what I'm here to do. I want to teach you how to live your best life, not just how to get certain things. And the best part is, though, is that the more that you learn how to live your best life and love yourself and build your self-worth and take care of yourself, the more the things just start flooding in like crazy, which is amazing and beautiful. But I definitely want to be open about that. If you're interested in that, shoot me an email. It's unleashinghappiness@ceciliahendricks.com. It's going to be 4 45-minute sessions. And then there's also like an email after. So there's going to be a little bit of stuff for you to work on. You email me kind of how stuff is going. I email you back, and then we have our next session. So there's 4 sessions, 4 emails, and it's $100. So for this trial period. So if you're interested, definitely email me. Otherwise, I will definitely be coming back with more and more content. I hope that you're enjoying this as much as I am. I'm going to have to slow down my talking. I don't know if you can tell. I am so excited to be talking about this, but I do feel like I'm going a million miles a minute. But have an absolutely beautiful week, and I wish you nothing but the best.